Biden had a small scare recently as he was rushed to safety by the Secret Service as one of the cars of his motorcade was hit by another oncoming car. I actually have the footage, but before we get to that, it's important to remember that many Americans are frustrated, and most of that frustration comes from the Biden administration seemingly being involved in everybody else's problem but our own. The continued push to fund Ukraine, Israel, possibly even Taiwan, with hundreds of billions of dollars is being met with resistance, especially from Republicans, and believe it or not, even Senator Bernie Sanders. The idea is that this won't help Americans at all. In fact, it may even put more pressure on our already struggling finances, something that a lot of us don't need at this time.
Mr. President, why are you losing to Trump in the polls?
As you guys can see here, the president was obviously shocked. Even the agents around him paused for a second before rushing him inside his armored SUV. That's something you don't see every day, huh? The driver didn't seem to know what was happening. However, we did see weapons being drawn in the video. So I'm not sure if he was drunk or something like that, but I guess this represents what America's going through right now. It feels like we're driving on the wrong side of the road, right onto oncoming traffic. Who's driving the car? President Biden. And this is one of the main reasons as to why we're hearing all of this talk about asking him to do more for the American people. That, and well, of course, the international scene is also calling for him to act on different threats across the globe. A lot of them happening under his watch. Now, before we even get any further, do you trust who's at the wheel right now to lead us through high inflation, global conflicts, and possible attacks here on American soil? Go ahead and type 1 if you think that President Joe Biden is the man to lead us through difficult times. But go ahead and type in 2 if you're a little bit hesitant to trust him with that many responsibilities. And while you guys are at it, please do me a huge favor by liking this video. This really helps in spreading out the truth to even more people, and consider subscribing to the channel and turning on all notifications, because y'all know that I say it like it is, no matter how scary or painful the truth might be. Appreciate that, guys. Now, depending upon how you answered, I'd say that I've seen more people here in the community that feel a bit let down by this administration. You see, they're rushing to provide aid to other countries like Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, but forget to realize that, hey, we live here in the United States of America.
Republicans have said for months that any package for Israel, Ukraine, or Taiwan must include significant policy changes at the border. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says fixing asylum laws and fast-tracking deportation procedures are places to start.
We can't pretend to be serious about threats facing America and our allies without fixing the broken system that lets 10,000 illegal aliens cross our border in a single day.
Catholic Senator Joe Manchin, a West Virginia Democrat, agrees and says bold action is necessary.
We've never seen numbers that we have never seen like this. The whole world is in the flux, and they're taking advantage of a system that truly is broken. And this is not immigration reform. They're basically working diligently on just securing the border. It must be done. It must be shut down.
As far as I know, they're making progress with this funding, which in turn is not making President Biden very popular. You see, 2024 is a big year for him. I mean, it's an election year, folks, which is why he's been treading so lightly regarding many of these different issues. And some Democrats, much like Manchin, are taking notice. Take Senator Bob Menendez saying that the Biden administration is ignoring immigrant communities and selling out to the Republicans. At the same time, we're also hearing some say that support for the president come 2024 will also be weakened in some communities if he ever does agree to the provisions being called for the borders.
We're here for one reason. We are here to fight to protect immigration as it is. Or let me put it a little differently. We're here to call on President Biden and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to reject the immigration and border proposals at the hands of Republicans in the ongoing negotiations around the supplemental aid package. Republicans continue to hold funding for America's allies hostage at the expense of migrants and to pass Trump-era border policies. Republicans are pitting vulnerable groups against each other to strong-arm policies that will exacerbate chaos at the southern border. We are urging the Biden administration to say no. Do not take the bait. We are calling on our colleagues to hold the line.
So I guess it's pretty safe to say that the Biden administration's now in pretty much panic mode, trying to balance these things out in favor of his polling numbers. Heck, even Senator Bernie Sanders called him out for trying to send out billions of dollars in a word to appease our allies.
Count me in for serious discussions about how we improve border security. Count me in to help the people of Ukraine withstand Putin's terrible invasion. But do not count me in to give another $10 billion to a right-wing extremist government in Israel, by the way, whose prime minister now, I guess their trial for corruption is continuing. Don't count me in to support that $10 billion.
Now, this is where things get tricky. You see, President Biden he's at a crossroads. Will he decide to help the American people, or will he decide to fund countries overseas? Many analysts say that the latter may be his only option, given that he's done it for some time now. But besides that, he's also facing pressure from other world leaders, as the US doesn't seem to be getting the same amount of respect that it had before at a global scale. What am I talking about? Remember those attacks that keep happening in the Red Sea, allegedly being done by an Iran-backed Houthi?
How tricky is that situation going through the Suez Canal currently?
Oh, well, it's incredibly tricky now that they've pulled this transport through the Red Sea, because now they're going to have to use more tankers. They're going to have to go around the Horn of Africa. So the fact that they did this, the fact that this is going to create more issues for their supply chains, more issues for their fuel consumption, you have to imagine that they are very concerned. Now, the Biden administration is, of course, weighing what they can do when it comes to these Houthi attacks. Do they potentially go directly after the Houthis? One source I spoke to this morning is talking about the fact that within the Biden administration, there is debate about potentially getting involved in a longer-term, protracted Houthi potential conflict. There also is talk of maybe a maritime consortium to be there in the Red Sea to protect it. So these are the active conversations happening right now.
Now, when I said that our finances will be pressured even more, I wasn't kidding. Imagine what happens if gas prices shoot up because of this move from BP. Because we may have to realize that gas affects inflation directly, given that ships and trucks that move cargo around use a lot of it. These Houthis, groups that don't really like the Biden administration, is seeing how undecisive he is. And it's probably why some experts are saying that they're now emboldened to do more of these attacks, especially as they haven't faced very much repercussion. This is why all of this is going to hit the Americans like a ton of bricks. And it's going to hit the fan too. I'm telling you guys right now, it's not going to be pretty when supply chains get choked. And at the same time, gas prices shoot up. So what are your thoughts on all this, guys? I'm very interested to hear different opinions on this channel, so don't hesitate to share them down below. And before I go, I want to thank you guys for liking the video, subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.